Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's exclusive analysis. In today's video, we'll be discussing some of the potential short squeeze stocks that are popping up here in the near term and setting up for maybe some potential continuation moves higher. So obviously looking at some bullish setups, and we're precisely targeting the high short interest names that are looking to appear to be making a bullish reversal and potentially looking to squeeze some of those shorts that are shorting some of these names. So AI is the first one that brings to my attention. Obviously, it just had earnings, and you've got a nice 1-2 punch, huge gap up and continuation move on the session today, closing up 19.44%. So that's a monster move on the session. And the question is there more upside? So let's just dissect this potential pattern at play. Right now, AI was triggering a bit of a bearish formation. Here you had your left shoulder, your head, and this right shoulder formation. As you can see, you've clearly broken the neckline zone, which was identified by that pivot to that pivot through this intersection. And now this was rejected on the fourth attempt, but now it appears you're actually gapping up and over through that neckline. So what this means is AI is potentially having a failed bearish breakdown. And what does that mean? Well, a failed bearish breakdown often can translate into a very bullish breakout, a very big bullish breakout. So if we recognize that the daily head and shoulders is now on the risk of being compromised due to the fact of this impulse daily candle breakout to the upside, we have to really start to question the fact as whether or not if this bearish pattern is actually going to break down, or are we now seeing a bullish reversal to the upside? I think we're potentially seeing a bit of a bullish reversal to the upside in this name. So if we factor in and give AI the benefit of the doubt now, and the fact that if it holds above this previous little neckline zone, if AI can now hold and consolidate above that key trend line, I think that it's shaping up for at least a minimum move up to the upper end of this wedge pattern. So puts us somewhere at around, call it $33 to $35 on the charts. And considering when we actually look at some of the short interest in this name, again, keep in mind this data is slightly behind. We are near the end of the month, so it's about 2 weeks behind. But AI still has had a high short interest from that May 15th. Probably with this recent move, this short interest of 32% is probably somewhere around mid 20-ish, so 25, maybe 22 at the low end. But still a great amount of shorts are still present in this name. So I'm watching to see, as long as we stay above this name, I think AI is a good long to press in the near term. And what's really interesting about this potential pattern is once you test the high end of this wedge, if you start to break out of that wedge, then you can really calculate what was once going to be the bearish target if you broke the neckline. That bearish target was suggesting pretty much AI going bankrupt, but now you can pretty much reverse that bearish target and use it as an upside target. And it's suggesting that, again, if we break out, AI could push to about 65 on the chart at the high end. Obviously, that would be a monumentous squeeze to the upside and a pretty good long trade if we were able to capture it in and around this vicinity. But nevertheless, I'm not giving the green light to go long. I'm just bringing this name to your attention to watch to see how it reacts around this area. Typically, you will get bullish continuation moves off of reversals of like this nature. You've kind of seen a very similar move happen in another high short interest name like CHWY. So CHWY is one that we've actually traded successfully in the live day trade room. We banked tremendously off of this huge rally. And CHWY's had an interesting one because just like you actually had that bearish formation trigger off of a head and shoulders here on CHWY, CHWY also triggered this head and shoulders pattern, which suggested, a pretty big downward move, break from the neckline. Broke the neckline here, so it suggested CHWY was going to about $10. And obviously, you had a lot of bearish consolidation, rejection here. But all of a sudden, on earnings, CHWY just gaps up above that neckline, pretty much trying to negate that head and shoulders pattern, just like AI is trying to do. And when you look where CHWY ended up actually rallying to, CHWY actually ended up rallying to the high end of this little bit of a wedge pattern, just kind of very similar to what we're looking on AI. So very similar structure, two high short interest names popping up on earnings, kind of negating bearish formations in the near term. So another interesting one to watch because, again, this is another one with high short interest. Let's see if we can actually find CHWY on this list. Last time I checked, it was probably about a 20% rating. I know WOOF, you see here, has about a 37% short interest. We actually traded WOOF successfully, but a couple of these similar stocks, WOOF, CHWY, need to be monitored in the short term because they are on watch for a short squeeze. This one's getting a little bit of extension move into some pretty key resistance, so you'd favor pullback, but a lot of these names are on watch for a short squeeze. Another one I'm watching is SunPower. Today, SunPower is very, very strong in a weak market. You can see SunPower is trying to maintain a little bit of a breakout bias, pivot high to pivot high to pivot high. Another name with extreme high short interest, if we just look at SunPower on the 15th, was sitting at 88. A lot of those shorts have covered. I think it's been reduced by half, but still, nevertheless, a great amount of short interest in SunPower. And this is a name that is potentially showing some signs of life, especially following on the back of, say, Enphase, which is showing some resilience in the near term. I mean, First Solar has just been a shaker and a mover. Look at that move in First Solar. So you are seeing some bids across the solar front, the clean energy sector, the ICLN here is catching a nice little bid. So continue to watch some of these names across the high short interest spectrum because I do think that they're actually shaping up to continue to move higher. Another one I was watching and we actually traded successfully today was UPST. This is actually on watch for a continuation move tomorrow. I'm interested to see if UPST can give us a little bit of a 3-bar surge today. You know, UPST is another one that has that pretty large head and shoulders formation that has triggered, but you're now trying to get really back above that key neckline zone, and you can see you're running into some near-term resistance. But if we look at UPST today, UPST was really trading inside of this consolidation range for the last few days. Really, if you look at this high pivot, and one could argue UPST has actually triggered an intraday inverse head and shoulders that's looking ready to go. Your neckline resistance that you broke, you know, whether you want to draw it from this pivot high, or this pivot high, really if you draw it from that pivot high, you can see that UPST has broken out and there's potentially a little bit of a short squeeze continuation that could occur. You know, if you backtest your prior day high tomorrow or coincides with kind of this neckline zone, I think that UPST could be a potential long trade for continuation to move higher. But any sort of a loss of this neckline does run the risk of having a sell-off back down to your prior day low. So hopefully a couple of these trade setups and things on your horizon have brought a little bit of clarity and perspective and insights. On that note, thank you all for tuning into this video. Please hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you on the charts a little bit later.